everyone. It's February 5th, 2020. It's Wednesday. It's Harp Wednesday. Sorry for being a day late. It's been a bit busy week, but busy couple weeks. But anyway, here we are. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about playing on the offbeats, playing syncopated notes, and just looking at two exercises that you can do with the metronome. So let me start just by telling you the two exercises. And one is to simply put your metronome on and see whether you can play with the metronome. Just same note. How about if you turn the speed up? This metronome, I think the fastest is 208. Or what if we go down to the slowest speed, 40? That's actually harder. We'll talk about that in a moment. And the first exercise is just playing with each beat of the metronome. And the second exercise is to try to play between the clicks. Try to play the offbeats. Let's talk about those. So in both cases, what we need to do is to make sure that we are feeling a pulse. So rather than trying to respond to some external thing like the metronome. So the metronome is a great tool. It doesn't lie. And it gives us this external pulse, but we have to incorporate that pulse to be feeling that pulse ourselves rather than trying to respond. So if we wait and try to hear, try to play right after we wait to hear the click and then try and play, of course we're going to be late, or try to watch the little light flash. We're going to be late. We need to anticipate. We need to incorporate this pulse. And I like the picture of a bouncing ball, right? So maybe we bounce this ball. Here's the beat, and then it bounces up, and we catch it, and we throw it down and up and down and up and down and up. Similar to a typical conductor's beat, where rather than a conductor going to show each beat, which would not a particularly effective idea, if when the conductor goes 1, 2, 1, 2, we see not only where the 1 and the 2 is, but we see the continuity, right? We see this. Oh, here's 1 coming up, and here's 2 coming up, and you kind of know exactly where it's going to come. The same with this idea of a ball bouncing and coming back and bouncing and coming back. There's a predictability to it. It's not an isolated event, and then we wait for the next little isolated event. That isolated event is leading us into the next one, and that we feel this pulse. So, and how do we do that? Well, to try to, again, maybe get your whole body involved. So if you find playing with the beat to be hard, or just not as secure as you would like, you might just try to do something in even bigger body movement. So not just trying to time this, but try to get the whole body, the shoulders, the arms involved. Or maybe stomping the foot. That's where maybe dance, doing some form of dance that's quite rhythmic with specific movements can be great because it gets the whole body going. And the other thing, of course, is to try and especially as it slows down, to try and actually subdivide, to feel that the 1 and 2 and 3 and, because you'll notice when I brought it all the way down to 40, it gets hard. So I can bring it all the way up to 208, right? And you think, oh, faster, that must be harder. So it's physically harder because we're playing faster, and maybe that might be a problem for you. But as long as you can physically play that fast, actually 208 is not too fast. It's depending on what else we're trying to do. If we're trying to do a bunch of notes, it can certainly be too fast. But to just play the single note, it's not too bad. But certainly as we get faster and faster, the time scale that we as humans operate on, those click, 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 starts to become, we can't hear the space between them as well as we would like, which is often why if we want notes that are going that speed, say 208, we might typically, if there's groups of 2 or 4, we might have the metronome on 104 and be doing 2 per click. Just because it's clear whether we're with the metronome and where exactly the beat is. But as we slow down, what we need to do, because those at 40, the time between each click, again, for the human time frame at least, it starts to become a little bit long. So where is the next click going to come? It's harder for us to feel that pulse. It's gotten so slow. So we need to subdivide. We need to hear that bouncing ball so that click and click and click and click and click and 1 and... And remember, our goal is not to respond to this, it's to anticipate so that where we think the beat will be is exactly when this will click. Oops, got a little bit behind there. So that's just one thing to be aware of, right? The slower the beat is, we need to start hearing the missing beat, or maybe whatever we're playing, we might just subdivide it into 3, right? So that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Again, to feel that it's not just this little event, it's this bouncing ball, it's this conductor, it has this continuity that lets us know when the next beat is coming. And so then the next step is, of course, to play between the beats. And so in order to do that, right, we don't want to be trying to go, trying to respond to that. We want to, again, anticipate. We want to be with it, but it's only there to let us know whether or not we're staying steady and we're with it. But it's not, we want to incorporate that beat within our body and within ourselves, right? So that if we're hearing this, we might start by going, boom. Sorry. Again, trying to really have the whole body get involved so that we really feel this pulse. And again, so here is an example where at 208, I would have a hard time that doesn't feel great. I'll listen back to the recording. I don't know that I was between the beats, but I also have a hard time getting good enough feedback for myself to know whether I am. It's just gotten so busy with clicks. So there, I run into a bit of a roadblock at, say, 208, but let's try 132. So here I think it does get, we can sort of push ourselves by going faster. And again, we can also push ourselves by going slowly, right? So back down to 40. Of course, we don't have that missing, that syncopated beat, that pulse in the middle, so we maybe have a little bit more leeway. Okay, yeah, I'm definitely not playing on the beat. You're definitely not going to play on the beat, but again, can you feel locked in on that syncopation? So just a couple of good and fun little exercises to try. And again, whenever you encounter a piece where there is some syncopation, so if you're lucky, one of the hands will be playing the downbeat, so that maybe one hand is going 1, 2, and 3, 1, right? 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, or let's do it. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4. It's a classic rhythm. But if we have, say, all 4 beats going on here, but if we don't, to try and feel that missing beat and do what you can, maybe with your body to feel it. And I'll give you a couple, so in terms of the body, right, like stomping the feet, right, is great. If it's just the right hand, and actually the reason I did this episode is I'm playing in a musical right now, and one of the pieces has the harp doing, but those are all offbeats. So that's how I practice it. The left hand's not playing, and it's actually easy when you're actually playing it with a group, because there are instruments providing the beat. But on your own, when I was practicing, I really wanted to make sure I didn't start to feel it as 1, 2, 3, 4, but 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I would actually snap my fingers, and as I was practicing it, to really feel where the downbeat is. And then a couple other things that I will do with a dotted rhythm, which is where you have, for example, a dotted quarter note followed by an eighth note, and then a downbeat. So like dotted quarter note, eighth note, quarter note, for example. That we want to feel that missing second quarter note beat. So we have 1, 2, and 3, right? 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, and we really need to feel that 1. And so I'll often do a sniff, right? In quick inhalation. And it's somewhat typical, like you'll often hear musicians when there is that, say, a syncopated rhythm like that, a dotted rhythm like that, people do a little bit of a breath too. And obviously in a performance, it's best if it's not audible, but it's just a good way to, when you're practicing at least, to fill in that missing beat. And then something that I do, I wasn't taught, I don't know how many people do this, but for me, a vocalization that I'll use when I'm trying to play, say, just on the offbeats is ba, ba, ba. So is the downbeat, and the ba is the offbeat. I'm trying to think. The Infernal Dance from Stravinsky's Firebird Suite, for example, has all these fairly fast offbeat notes, and again, just that. So ba 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 ba. I don't know. I find that useful. The is to me a clear downbeat, and the ba is a nice delineation to say, hey, yes, this is the where I want to put the offbeat. This is the offbeat. Ba ba. So I don't know, potentially useful. So have fun playing around with those two exercises. I'd love to hear in the comments whether that's easy for you, whether it's hard, what tips or what ways that you use and do to help incorporate that beat within your body and that pulse, and so that it's really a part of you. And hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Cheers.